I got some new rings and now I feel like I'm over exaggerating my hand movements now. They're from Amazon, so they're nothing special, but I love having just like fun jewelry on my hands, you know? Welcome or welcome back. If you're new, my name is Kristen and you've reached my little corner of the internet. Today we are talking about my long overdue books that I read in September. I'm sorry I'm posting this halfway through October, but I literally don't have a life. I don't know why it took me so long to sit down and actually start filming this, but here we are. We're doing it anyway. I have some stats. I read 10 books in September. There are books, summer theme books in this stack, and that doesn't feel right to still talk about summer theme books, but we're going to do it anyway. Let's stop yapping. This is gonna be a long-ish one. I don't know how long. I tend to be a yapper with some of these books, especially if I'm overly passionate, whether I'm overly passionate because I loved them or because I really strongly disliked them. But anyway, I have notes though, because I literally, for the life of me, probably couldn't tell you the main character's name in over half of these books. So I have notes. I tend to forget to tell you guys the summaries of these books before going into my review, so I will try to remember that if that helps you. I just assume all of you know what these books are about, and I just start blabbering, and you're like, wait, who are we talking about right now? So yeah, if you want to hear my opinions on books, then keep watching. I always tend, I don't know why, this is the second time I've filmed a reading wrap up and I'm also making focaccia at the same time. It is currently still fermenting and proofing before I put it in the oven. I have 10 minutes until I have to go downstairs to preheat the oven, and then another 35-ish minutes until it's ready to go in the oven. So I like to preheat it, and then, you know what I mean? Okay, we're done talking about focaccia. I love baking bread, okay? And no, it is not a new obsession since Taylor Swift announced that she loves baking bread. I have loved baking bread long before since she announced it, but I've always known that she is a baker, so her and I share that same love and passion. Anyways, okay, let's get started. Which I didn't even, hello, TTPD sweatshirt. Hello, hey, might be my favorite album. I don't know. Okay, before getting into the first books that I read in September, some stats for you. I had a 3.78 average rating this month, which is about average for the year, I feel like. I think my highest month was June or July, maybe August. I don't know. But I feel like just under a 4 seems pretty average for me. I'm not a harsh rater by any means, but I do toss out a lot of 3s and 3.5s. I don't do a lot of 3.75s anymore. The 0.75, I just end up rounding it to the higher number. So I don't give a lot of 0.75s anymore, but I've been throwing out a lot of 3s and 3.5s. There are a good amount of 3s and 3.5s in this stack. So that is my average rating, 3.78 for the month. I read 10 books, 3 fantasy and 7 romance, and I'm not mad at it. All right, so the first book I read in September was Ruthless Fae, which is the second book in the Zodiac Academy series. And I also read in September the third book, so I'm just gonna group them together right now so I can just talk about them really quick. They are chunkers. Wow, these books are getting thicker and thicker. When I talk about these books, though, I feel like I've talked about them a lot on my channel already, but they are when you pick these up and I have not physically read any of these books so far. I have listened strictly to the graphic audios, and I think that helps a ton because it just feels like reality TV playing in my head, and I love drama reality TV. Like, that is just my guilty pleasure. So these books do not disappoint in that realm. If you don't know Zodiac Academy, it follows two twin sisters. It follows two twin sisters, Darcy and Tori, and they are taken as 18-year-olds from the mortal world to the Fey world, and they discover that they are heirs to the throne in Solarius. Wow, words today. They are heirs to the throne in Solarius, but in order to claim their throne, they need to pass the reckoning at Zodiac Academy and become students at Zodiac Academy. But they are faced with 4 hot males, the heirs, whose families are the current rulers of Solarius, and they are threatened by Darcy and Tori for their throne. So it's basically a really long series about that. And yes, I am currently listening to the fourth book, and the graphic audios stop at book 5 because they are not like the graphic audios for the rest of the series isn't still being recorded. They're not out yet. Something's going on. So I don't know if I'm taking a heavy pause or if I'm going to continue physically reading. But what I was getting at with these books is that if you physically read these books, like, you are going to be like, why am I reading literal like garbage right now? And that's why I love it. So in this book, we learn more details about the other characters, not just Darcy and Tori. And I feel like still, right, actually book 3 is kind of the end of the exposition. We kind of learn everything and we know what we need to know going into the rest of the series. And book 4 has really picked up a lot. So if you're looking for a smart academic, very detailed review on these books and you want something, if you're like looking to get something intelligent out of these books and from my review, that's not happening. I truly think this series just boils down to either you love it or you absolutely despise it. And I don't really think I need to explain what side I'm on. But for these 2 books, I gave it 4 stars for book 2, 4.5. Yep, I'm double checking because I don't remember. Yeah, 4 stars for book 2, 4.5 for book 3. So the series is going really well in my opinion. No complaints here. And they are also launching new covers. These are the new covers they are launching. So I like it. Love it, actually. What the heck? What do I mean like it? I love this series. The next book I read was King of Pride by Anna Huang. At the end of August, like early September, I was like, I am craving an Anna Huang billionaire romance. And I feel like with Anna Huang books, and I was talking about this actually yesterday, I go live on TikTok on Tuesdays around like 10:30 a.m. PST, and I got some book girlies in my live chat, which I'm always so happy to have. One of my viewers, she was actually reading the Twisted series by Anna Huang, which you should technically read before this series, and I was telling her, like, with Anna Huang books, you just have to be in a certain mood to pick them up, because I kind of compared it to like Elle Kennedy books, where I feel like if you read, like, let's say the Off-Campus series all in one go, like you binge the entire series, they kind of start to sound the same. And I feel that way a little bit with Anna Huang's billionaire romances. Like, there's only so much like, yeah, I can just take you on my private jet right now. We can go. Like, I can only read that so many times in a row. So this follows Kai and Isabella, and she is the bartender at the club that Kai is a member at. So it is a forbidden billionaire romance, and I ate up every single crumb. I gave this 4 stars. Again, satisfied my billionaire Anna Huang craving. I have the next book on my TBR cart right now. It is King of Greed, I want to say. I read King of Wrath earlier this year, so I feel like several months is a good pacing with these books, just because it's like an itch you need to scratch all of a sudden. So we'll see how quickly I end up picking the next book. But yeah, 4 stars for King of Pride. Doesn't let me down. Just got back. I went to go preheat my oven, and I'm on the clock with 27 minutes until I have to put it in the oven. So we're gonna move on to the next 3 books. Actually, they were 4. Oh my gosh, I read 4 books in one reading vlog. It was for a Hanging On to Summer reading vlog. If you haven't watched it yet, you can go watch it if you want. I know we're like in the smack dab middle of fall, but the next 4 books have more detailed reviews, obviously, in that vlog, because I am focusing on each book very heavily. So if you want to see more detailed stuff and yapping about these books, you can go check that out. But we're going to start with the first book in that vlog. It was unintentionally another billionaire romance, Summer in the City by Alex Astor. I had no clue this was a billionaire romance going into it. So this follows 27-year-old Elle, and she is a screenwriter, and she has writer's block and then goes to Manhattan for the summer in New York City, obviously, duh. So she is staying at this really, really nice apartment, and her neighbor is a guy that she hooked up with 2 years prior in a club stairwell. Whoa! But she didn't know that Parker Warren was the guy she hooked up with in the stairwell, and that is now her neighbor, and he is a very hot billionaire, of course. Are we surprised that I'm giving this 3 stars? I was looking for a cutesy summer book. I tend to read like like summer books that you take place on a beach, or a lake or something. I don't read a lot of like summer city romances, so that was a different aspect for me. But like when I was reading this book, you guys, when I was reading this book, I was always like catching myself like critiquing it and like judging it really harshly when I was like, this is not the intent of this book. What? This book is supposed to bring me joy, happiness, maybe a little bit of sadness, and a happy ending. Like, if this book were a movie, I would be eating it up with some popcorn. Like, no problem. So that is why I like tried not to judge this book too harshly. But yes, 3 stars, did exactly what I needed it to do. I got what I wanted out of this book. It's cute. It literally is just under 300 pages. Like, could not be more of like a just palate cleanser type of book. So it's cute. Liked it. 3 stars. Next, I read my first Catherine Center book. This is The Love Haters, which was her new release for the summer. And I'm kind of sad about this one. Everybody loves Catherine Center and her books. The Bodyguard, the Rom-Commers, I think Hello Stranger is another one. So those are like, she's had some pretty popular books that, people rate 4 and 5 stars. I'm not the only one who feels like this about this book, but I think people were just expecting a little bit more out of this one and something fell a little bit flat. So I give it 3.5 stars. And honestly, that's fair because I don't remember what this book is about at all. And I had like an okay time reading it. It was fine. All I said in my notes were having mixed feelings. I like it at some parts and kind of get turned off by the other parts, which from what I can remember, yeah, that sounds pretty accurate. All right, the next book I read in that vlog was The Summer We Ran by Audrey Ingram. Again, a first for me from Audrey Ingram. I've never read any of her books before. So I was pretty much going into it blindly. Like, okay, I have no idea of how the writing is, how the plot's gonna go. And somehow with all of that in mind, it was a letdown, I feel like. I like the book was going so well, and then like the 60 to 70% mark hit, and I was like, what is going, like, why this, it just fell a little bit short for me. So I ended up giving this a 3.5. I said that I had a really high hopes for this book in the beginning, which I said already, and that the plot was interesting and the dual timeline kept the pace of the book steady. The ending is what fell flat for me, which is true, which is why I said like the 60 to 70% mark, everything just started progressively just going downhill. So if you don't know what this book is about, it takes place, well, it's dual timelines, and it's kind of dual POV. Tess and Grant meet as teenagers in the summer of 1996 and then have this grand teenage love and think that they're soulmates, and then 20 years later they go without talking and they are 20? So yeah, 20 years after they initially meet and have their epic teenage romance, they are running against each other for the governor of Virginia. So obviously a lot of tension there, and I was like really excited for the plot because I was like, I've never really read anything like this before, and it was just going so well, and I don't know what the heck happened. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this part. I said the characters were each flawed, which ultimately led me to never really rooting for them together, and it kind of felt like their chemistry was forced when they reconnected as adults. And usually I don't mind miscommunication, but this was a new level of miscommunication, almost borderline gaslighting, which just didn't sit right with me. And I did listen to this on audiobook, and that's kind of what helped me stay invested in the story. All right, and then the last book that I read in that reading vlog was One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. I'm so happy I got to this summer. I feel like Carly has really stepped up her writing game in this book, so I give it 4 stars. I feel like reading Every Summer After and like comparing it to now this book, I really feel like she's gone up a few notches in her writing style, and it works so well for the vibe of this book. So this follows Alex and Charlie, who is one of my new favorite characters of the year, I think. And basically Alice is a photographer, but she took a beautiful photo of Charlie in their teenage years one summer, but she didn't know it was him and he didn't know it was her. So now she is back at the lake however many years later, and they realize that they kind of knew each other from a couple summers ago, and it's basically about their romance, and I love Charlie, period. I think my only gripe with this book was the main act conflict, like why they couldn't be together, and I was like, I don't really like that reason, but you do you. But everything else really worked in this book. She once again has perfected the encapsulation of the summer vibes, and I can actually see this being a summer reread. It was actually like one of those where I'm like, kind of like beach read, where you're like, I wouldn't mind going back to this story. All right, the next book I read was Don't Let Me Fall by Kelsey Ray, and I fell straight onto my face after I read this book. I was suckered in on my For You page. Kelsey, ma'am, she kept popping up on my For You page and describing like the summaries of her books. This is a whole series. I think there's like 5 or 6 books in this series, and they're all kind of like different tropes, and it's a very like trope heavy book if you love like all your microtropes and everything. Like, this is essentially Wattpad on paper. So for that reason, I gave it 3 stars. Definitely, if you like just brainless, don't want to think about it type of Wattpad romance, she's your girl. You'll love this. Definitely a palate cleanser type book for me after a heavy fantasy read or something like that. So definitely a palate cleanser type of book. It makes Elle Kennedy's off-campus series look like a work of God, but I'm looking forward to the live action, okay? Don't get it twisted. I'm so excited about the live action. I'm just saying. It makes Elle Kennedy's books look like God tier books, which, you know, they can be at some times, but just like when you're over just looking at it, you're like, yeah, this is a good series. I am excited for the live action, okay? Comment down below your favorite song from the new Taylor Swift album. I would love to know. Yeah, tell me what it is. I think mine right now is... it's either Father Figure or Opalite. All right, next book I read was Wildcard by Elsie Silver. 4 stars. This, unfortunately, was not my favorite Elsie Silver book, but there's always just something saucy and spicy. I don't know how she seasons her writing to make it so bingeable, but like, I'm eating it up, no problem. I've never read Ex-Boyfriend's Dad before, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. I don't know if it's done well or not for people who have read that trope before. But I enjoyed it enough to obviously read this book really quickly. I think what fell a little bit flat for me was that there wasn't that typical Elsie banter we get between the 2 main characters. I feel like something was lacking in that department where like I couldn't really get a grasp for what Bash and Gwen's chemistry was. There are other Elsie Silver books that I do like better, Heartless and Powerless, but it was a great way to end the series, and I'm very excited for whatever series she decides to come out with next. She's an auto-buy author for me, so I'm excited for what's next for her, but this was a great way to end the Rose Hill series. All right, this last book, I didn't advertise anywhere that I was reading it, but it was a thick one. I read Crescent City. Oh my gosh. I did not see myself starting this series at all this year. I can't believe I didn't put it on my 25 books to read it in 2025, but it's here anyway, and I gave it a 4.25 out of 5. I think Sarah J. Maas is one of the few authors that has managed to make me cry with multiple books, mind you. So I'm really scared for what the rest of the series entails, even though I've seen people's reviews on the House of Flame and Shadow, I believe it's called, the 3rd book that came out, and they didn't love it, which is sad, but I'm still excited for the rest of the series. So the graphic audio became available on my Libby. I had just like randomly one day placed it on hold. I was like, sure, I'll put it on hold. If it becomes available, I'll listen to it. Why not? Whatever. And then it became available on one September day, and I went, sure, yeah, what could happen? Everything happened, okay? Everything happened. I would listen to this book at 8 in the morning on my morning walks, and I would have my jaw on the floor. I would have my hand covering my mouth. I would laugh out loud, tears streaming down my face at 8 in the morning, and people walking past me are like, what is wrong with this person and why is she crying right now? It is 8 a.m. What the heck is playing in her ears. But I'm very glad I listened to the graphic audio. There is so much, there is so much information in here. She's a thick one. Like, are you kidding me? She is huge. There is so much information in here, and I think listening to the audiobook definitely helped a lot with that information. It just made it more entertaining. But that info dump at the beginning of the story is definitely worth it, because if you've ever read a Sarah J. Maas book in your entire life, you know that this last little bit is going to traumatize you forever. So getting to the end was definitely worth it after that big long info dump for this much of the story. But yeah, 4.25, last book that I read in September. We are done. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, those are the 10 books that I read in September. I had a great reading month. No complaints for the most part here. It is October 15th and I've only read 3 books this month, which is awful. And in November, I'm going to be traveling for 3 weeks, so I'm also screwed there too. But I did hit my reading goal. My reading goal was 75 books, so I did hit that last week, I believe. So that was hooray, super exciting for me. If you haven't hit your reading goal yet, don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. If you have, congrats to you. I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you guys too who also haven't finished their reading goals. That's okay. You're probably striving for way more than I am. I feel like 75 was gracious of me to do. But whether your reading goal is 5 books or 100 books, I'm rooting for all of us. We are reading together. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a like if you did. Comment down below, again, your favorite Comment down below your favorite new song from Life of a Showgirl. I would love to know what it is. Also, comment down below what your reading goal is for the year and whether you've completed or not. So I want to see. We should all share and be one big happy community. Oh yeah, and subscribe. Thank you so much. That's it on that PSA. You can subscribe if you want. But that is all from me. That is all from this video. Oh, the links to my social media. Yep. The links to my social media are linked down below. You can friend request me on Goodreads and I will accept your friend requests, and you can follow me on Fable and I will follow you back on Fable so we can be book besties together. But now, okay, that is all from me and that is all for this video. I hope to see you guys in another one soon. All right, bye.